So this is the right wing, this is the inside surface, and this is the flap and aileron. The flap is cut on the top so it can swing down, and the aileron is cut on the bottom so that it swings up more than it does down. And I usually cut about 1 or 2 millimeters out in between in the slot here, so if you just cut a slot they're going to rub together, so I just cut a little groove in each of those spots. And the flap I usually don't bevel on the top, so it swings down and then it comes up, and it's just flush when it's in the up position. But the aileron needs to swing both directions, so it needs to be beveled. So I'm going to bevel that now, and then we'll go into the wing curve. Not very straight, but good enough. Okay. So next thing we'll do is double bevel the leading edge. So basically all these slots are where the wing will curve a little bit, and all the other slots we're going to crease with a skewer, but the leading edge needs to bend more than all of them, so we're going to double bevel that. So just crack it all the way open, and then bevel each side. I usually cut in a little bit and then bevel to the edge, because yeah. Okay. Okay, next we need to crease all the other 50% cuts with a bamboo skewer. Just take the blunt end and kind of push it into the slot. Okay, now it's time to glue the spars in. Don't need a ton of glue. That should be fine. Just try to make sure the spars are straight up and down. Okay, this is the most important part to getting the airfoil shape right, is the alignment. Once you fold this over, gently fold it over very slowly. Okay, and then at this back crease here, fold that all the way back over. So the important thing is to have that edge line up with the back edge of the spar, and that will ensure that the airfoil shape is right. And that spar wasn't very straight, but probably not a big deal. So you just want to make sure that that edge is lined up. So this is flush all the way from here to here, so that the airfoil shape is right, and then it's also consistent for the length of the wing. So that looks pretty good. So what you want to do now is put a bead of hot glue in the leading edge, and then fold this over and let it cool. And then we'll come back and put a bead on the top of the spars. Fold that over and then hold it right there on that spar. Okay, that's pretty good. And we could have done this earlier. It's probably a good time to do it now, but this little back edge you should have cut on the back, 50% cut on the back, needs to be folded up. And glued down on the inside. Okay. So now we can glue the top of the spars and bring the top of the wing down. So bead of glue on each spar. To work fast because it's a lot of glue to put down. And make sure it's still lined up with, this edge is lined up with the back edge of the spar. Okay, pretty much the final step is to put a bead of glue along here and glue down the trailing edge and push it down like that, and you have a wing. Okay, there you go. One FoamCub wing. Okay, now the two wing halves are both built. It's time to join them. So I'm going to use a few techniques you'll see on flight test. So first of all, I'm going to put a couple pieces of packing tape down on my cutting board so that the glue doesn't stick to it so badly. Like that. And I have this little spacer. This is 2 inches. And so once it's glued and put together and we're waiting for the glue to dry, we're going to need to have one wing flat on the table. The other wing is going to need to be propped up a little bit to get the dihedral, and this will help us get the dihedral right. So the 2 inches will be from here to the table. You don't want to do that. You want to do that. Okay, and the other another thing is I've seen on flight tests as well, is when you have a little bit of dihedral and these are 90 degrees, the surface here, you know, you're gonna have a little bit of a crack at the bottom. So to help minimize that, you can kind of squish down. I'm just rubbing the top edge of the wing with the skewer to try to squish it down a little bit so that when the two wing halves come together, they'll come together flush, or whatever you call that. So just a little bit of that. The other thing too is I made sure that the wing edge was nice and flat, so that the spars aren't sticking out any. You want to have just a nice flat surface there to try to meet as much as the other wing as possible. I had to trim off a little bit of glue and a little bit of just foam board overhang. So try, and that looks pretty good. It looks like with roughly 2 inches of dihedral, the two halves will meet nicely. Okay, the next thing is there's these little tabs that have a little bit of angle to them, and they go right in here, just like that, and we'll glue them in. And they don't really provide much structural strength, but they help guide the two wing halves once the glue is there and you want to get them together quickly and have it lined up properly the first time. So you want to dry fit these to make sure there's no globs of glue that are gonna get in the way once the wing goes together. So I have dry fit those on both sides, and I'm gonna glue these in. Okay, so it should look like that. Okay, now that these tabs are in and the glue is cooled, it's time to dry fit the wings together. That looks good. So I think it's time to glue. What we want to do is glue all the way around every surface that's going to meet the other wing and the side of these tabs right here. Use plenty of glue because we want this to be as strong as possible, and it's much more important to have it be strong rather than skimp because to keep it light. So once I get this on there, I'm going to need to put it into the other wing and prop the other wing up with the spacer as quickly as I can. So here goes. Press that together really well. Spacer under here. Let me get a squeegee piece. Clean that up. Okay, looks pretty good. Now we'll come back and there's little tiny cracks in here, and we'll take the glue gun and squeeze a little bit more glue. Get as much glue in there as possible, but let it cool for just a little bit first. Okay, I'm gonna squeeze some more glue in here. Get as much in there as possible. good. Let that cool a little bit and turn it over and do the same thing on the other side. Okay, now that the glue is cooled and we're back in focus again, peel this off. Check out the bottom. Not too bad. It's like there's some cracks that we can squeeze some glue into. Okay, I think that's pretty good. Now we can attach this plate to the bottom. And this is important. It does a couple things. It provides the strength because most of the G forces are going to be trying to pull the wings up, and this is going to want to separate at the bottom, so this will help keep the bottom surface of the wing strong. But it also, this is the exact size of the fuselage hole that the wing will sit on, so this keeps it in the exact right spot. It won't let it twist, it won't let it slide sideways. So that's what this is for. And I've marked the center there and the center there, so that will line up with the seam, and the square hole should just match the hole in the wing. And I've also creased this a little bit and bent it up just to try to match the dihedral a little bit, so the surfaces will touch. All right. Use lots of glue on this one as well, since it's so important for it to be strong. Squeeze a little bit more glue into this trailing edge here. Okay, that's pretty good. Alright, there's the wing. So there's one last thing to do, is to cut out this area right here, put a skewer in there from here to here, because the rubber bands will come down and come off this edge, and if it's just foam board, then they'll get ripped out pretty easily. So I will do that at the other workbench. Okay, there's the whole wing together. Okay, now we're gonna put the bamboo skewer on the back right here. So 50% cut. Just take off that little edge. Make some skewer. Measure the length. Cut it. plenty of glue. Alright, so the wing is done except for the only things remaining are the servos, control horns, linkages, and wires coming out through this hole. So we'll set the wing aside and get started on the fuselage, I think.